Alright, in lesson 55 we're going to talk about common denominators. And this has to do with adding fractions, adding and subtracting fractions. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start. Alright, let's go ahead and do lesson 55, common denominators. So here's a situation in which you have, you've eaten half of, say, a pizza, pie, whatever, and then you've also eaten a fourth. So you've eaten half plus a fourth. Now, notice, these are not common denominators. So what you have to do is you have to find yourself a common denominator. What I'm going to do is I'm going to split this pizza right here in half again. So now you can see that it's in fourths. So this is the same, 1/2 is the same as 2/4. So I'm going to write 2/4. Okay? And then this one, of course, is 1/4. So now I can add it. 2/4 plus 1/4 is 3/4, which makes sense. Because if I were to draw another circle out right here, we'd have a half. So let's say this half right here, plus just an extra fourth. So that would be 1, 2, 3/4. So hopefully that makes sense. But before I want to move on, basically what I'm asking for is I want a 4 in the denominator. I know that this fraction right here I can just rewrite as 1/4, but I want to write a fraction that's equivalent to 1/2 that has a 4 in the denominator. So what number times 2 equals 4? Well, 2 times 2 equals 4. But if you multiply the bottom by 2, then you got to multiply the top by 2. So this would be 1 times 2. So that is exactly what we had. 2/4 plus 1/4 equals 3/4. Okay, let's go ahead and review some multiples really quick. What are the multiples of 3 and 4? And once we do that, then we're going to find the common multiples, and then we're going to find the least common multiples. So first step, though, is to find your multiples. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, so on and so forth. So let's do the multiples of 4. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, so on and so forth. So let's go on down the line. Oh, 24 and 24 are common multiples of 3 and 4. 21, 18, 16, 15, and then also 12 and 12 are common multiples of 3 and 4. But what's the least common multiple, also known as LCM? The least common multiple is, of course, 12. So LCM is going to be 12 for these two. Now 12 is what we're going to use for our common denominator as well. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so say you're adding two fractions, and say one fraction is 1/4 and the other fraction is 2/3. Look at the denominator, 3 and 4, or 3 and 4. So what are we going to do with those two numbers? You're going to think least common multiple. Well, the least common multiple of 3 and 4 was 12. So I'm going to rewrite equivalent fractions for 1/4 and 2/3 that the equivalent fractions have a 12 as the denominator. So what number times 4 equals 12? Well, that number is 3. Notice that's the same numbers down here. So if I multiply the bottom of this fraction by 3, then I got to multiply the top by 3. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. So 3/12 is the same as 1/4. The only difference is it has a 12 in the denominator. Now what number times 3 equals 12? Well, that it would be 4. If I multiply the bottom of this fraction by 4, then I got to multiply the top by 4. And 2 times 4 is going to be 8. Now I can add these two fractions because I have a common denominator, 12 and 12. And 3 plus 8 is going to be 11, and then 12 is our common denominator. So that is your answer. 11/12 is 1/4 plus 2/3. Alright, one more problem and then we'll be done. We have 1/2 minus 1/6. So let's rewrite that up and down. 1/2 minus 1/6. So we got to find the least common multiple of 2 and 6. So if you want to do that to the side really quick, it'll be no second. 2, 4, 6, 8. Now the multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18. You already see that 6 is the least common multiple. Alright, so I want a fraction that has a 6 in the bottom that equals 1/2, and I want a fraction that has 6 in the bottom that equals 1/6. Well, that's easy. 1/6 equals 1/6. So you don't have to worry about that one. But you do have to worry about this one. Don't worry too much. You'll get it. It's not too hard. 2 times what number equals 6? Well, that's 3. 2 times 3 equals 6. You multiply the bottom by 3. You got to multiply the top by 3. 1 times 3 is 3. 3/6 equals 1/2. Now you can subtract. 3/6 minus 1/6 is 2/6. And you can reduce that if you need to. 2/6 reduces to 1/3. Hopefully that helps, and I will see you guys back in school.